Hello everyone, this is Nightmare. Welcome to my first build video on YouTube. I will be going over my Nightblade PvP bow build called Nocturnal. For this build, I focus on using the bow for long range engagements and burst damage, as well as using a two-hander to defend myself up close. For this build, I didn't want to do what every other Nightblade is doing, running around with magic debt and vicious death. Also, I wanted to show that stamina can still be very effective in PvP if played correctly, so let's jump into it. Alright, let's start off with the abilities I use, starting on my two-hand bar. Up first, I use Ambush, a really good gap closing ability. It also stuns for 2 seconds. It also grants power, increasing the damage of my next attack by 20%. Although this is a good damage dealing ability, don't spam this. For my next ability, I use Surprise Attack. I follow up with Ambush with Surprise Attack, which grants me that 20% extra damage on my next attack. So I don't light attack before using Surprise Attack. But after my first Surprise Attack, I start to light attack weave in between my Surprise Attack. Let me demonstrate. So, first, I'll ambush in and Surprise Attack. After that, I light attack, Surprise Attack, getting two abilities off at the same time with an animation cancel. This also grants me Major Fracture on my enemy I'm targeting, which reduces their physical resistance by over 5,000 for 17 seconds. For my next ability, I use Mass Hysteria. This is a very good AoE crowd control ability. It fears them, which goes through block, so if I'm not able to get the stun off of them, I still have my fear. This fears them for 4.5 seconds. Although most enemies will break the crowd control, it's okay because they lose stamina while they do that, and being able to keep them CC'd about every 8 seconds when they lose their crowd control immunity, they will soon run out of resources. This is also granting me Minor Maim on my enemy for a debuff, reducing their damage done to me by 15%. It also reduces their movement speed by 52% for 4 seconds. Really annoying ability to use. My next ability I use is Executioner, a really good executing ability which increases my damage done by 300% against up to 300% against enemies below 50% health, although I don't start to use it until they drop down to about 25% health. My next ability is my first buff. It's Rally. I use this to get 20% extra weapon damage from Major Brutality. This also heals me every 2 seconds for 33 seconds. A very good hot. After 33 seconds, this will also grant me a huge heal, but if I use it again before 33 seconds, I can activate that heal sooner. For my ultimate, I use Soul Harvest, and although this is magic damage, it's still really good. It also increases my damage done to that target by 20% for 6 seconds, and reducing their healing done to them by 30% with Major Defile. Also, this is very cheap ultimate with only 50, and it grants me 9 ultimate every time I get a kill. I can usually get this up every time I kill a target. Now the way I like to use this is, I'll ambush in for my gap closer, and if I can get them down to 50% health after surprise attacks and mass hysteria, I'll try to wait until they get down to 50% health. If I know they're not blocking, I'll hit them with the Soul Harvest. This can get them down to about 35 to 25% health, which then allows me to start spamming my execute and finishing off that target fast. So let's start off with my next bar. This is my bow bar, which is what this build is focused around. My first ability is Poison Injection. This has a range of 36 meters. It does a good amount of upfront damage, but it's mainly used for the dot, which lasts for 10 seconds. Also, it's my second executing ability. It can increase in damage when the target drops below 50% health. This is good for finishing off targets. Keeping this up helps a lot. My second ability is the main ability for this build. It's Lethal Arrow, which has a range of 43 meters. It hits for over 12k, but fully buffed, it hits for over 13k. It also grants Major Defile, the same as Soul Harvest, but it reduces their healing done by 30% for 10 seconds. This is good if I'm not able to finish off my target with Lethal Arrow and Poison Injection. They won't be able to heal through it. My next ability is my second buff I use. This is a huge buff for Stamina Nightblades. It grants me Minor Berserk, increasing my weapon damage by 8%, the same as Flawless Dawnbreaker when it's fully leveled up. It also grants me Minor Endurance, increasing my stam recovery by 10% for 20 seconds. I keep this up at all times to help with my resource management. Another cool part about this ability is that after 4 light or heavy attacks, I can activate a Spectral Bow, which although it does magic damage, it still hits pretty hard, and I like to use this whenever it comes up. My next ability is Camouflage Hunter, which is a huge boost for all stamina builds. It grants me about 10% extra crit chance. It also gives me a 15% chance to do additional damage, magic damage, to undead and Daedra. So when I'm playing PvP, I like to focus werewolves and vampires. I can usually one-shot people from stealth. And that's because I can also hit an additional 9,000 magic damage while in stealth when attacking undead or Daedra. My final ability is my Cloak. I take Shadowy Disguise because I like the guaranteed crit right after using this. This is a very unique ability for Nightblades. No other ability is like it, and it's highly recommended for all Nightblades. My ultimate on this bar is Flawless Dawnbreaker, increasing my weapon damage by 8% just for having it slotted. And although the activation is 100 ultimate and it does magic damage just like my other ultimate, it's an AoE cone and also does increased damage to undead and Daedra. So if I can, and I know I'm going against a vampire, I try to use this over my other ultimate. It tends to do more damage, and it also has a dot, which is kind of what this build is focused around too. So the way I use this build is I'll buff up with Rally, switch bars with Camouflage Hunter, and then Relentless Focus to get all my buffs up. I'll also Cloak to get the guaranteed crit, and I'll do an Animation Cancel. Now the way I do that is I'll press the snipe, and right before it goes off, a light attack that cuts the animation short, and right after a light attack, I use Poison Injection. If done correctly, all these abilities can go off at the same time, one-shotting most enemies in PvP. So to demonstrate, I'll Rally, Camouflage Hunter, Relentless Focus. While in stealth, I'll hit Cloak to get the guaranteed crit, Snipe, Light, Poison Injection. All three go off at about the same time. So to demonstrate that again, I'll buff up with Rally, Camo, Relentless Focus. I'll go into Stealth, hit Cloak, Snipe, Light Attack, Poison Injection. One-shotting enemies. So going back to Cloak, most magic and Nightblades get a huge boost for using Cloak because they use concealed weapons to increase their cloak movement speed, and most of them are also vampires, which increase their stealth movement speed too. But since we're using a bow, we can get increased to movement speed too. So how I like to use this is using a dodge roll and then cloaking, and I can move almost just as fast as a magic and Nightblade using Cloak. And I don't spam this, I give it a couple seconds in between, and I can use it a few times. Instead of spamming it one right after the other, I run out of magicka pretty quick. So to recap, my two-hand is just for up close and personal combat when I'm not able to get a snipe off or I'm caught in the middle of assassinating someone. Ambush for a gap closer, surprise attack to defend myself up close, mass hysteria for my main crowd control ability for up to 3 enemies. This is good for 1vx's. Executioner to get targets down faster, rally for my weapon damage and a heal. Soul Harvest when I get them down to about 50% health, I can burst targets down, followed by Executioner. On my bow, I use Poison Injection for a huge dot, which increases with damage when they drop below 50% health. Snipe, which is my big burst damage from range and from stealth. Relentless Focus, which increases my stam recovery and damage by 8%. Camouflage Hunter increases stealth damage to vampires, which I always focus. And Shadowy Disguise, to get away and to give me a guaranteed crit, as well as Flawless Dawnbreaker for the extra weapon damage. Alright, now let's go over the gear I use for this build. First off, I have 2 pieces of Falcon Scoria. My helmet is infused, I bought it from the Golden, but if I could get the drop, I'd try to get it in Divines. And the shoulder is light, Divines. The reason why I use Falcon Scoria is because of the 2-piece, a 6% chance to drop a Falcon Scoria Comet on the enemy, dealing over 7,000 flame damage and over 3,000 AoE damage to enemies nearby. Although this is flame damage, this still hits pretty well, and I can kinda use this as a finisher because of my dots, if I'm not able to finish off my enemy with a snipe, poison injection, animation cancel. For my 5-piece, I'm using Marksman, all Divines. You can get this from PvP, Rewards of the Worthy, or you can buy this from guild traders. The 2 and 3-piece are Stam Recovery, which are really good for PvP. The 4th piece is weapon damage, and the 5th piece is reducing the cost of all abilities by 5% increasing the damage of bow abilities by 8%. And since our build focuses around bow abilities, that 8% is really huge. Another alternative is using Hunting's Rage, which you'll get more crit and more max stamina and more weapon damage than Marksman, but the 5th piece from Marksman, in my opinion, is better for PvP. And you also get the stam recovery, which is also really important. My 3-piece, I use Agility, all weapon damage enchantments. Okay, so all of them are weapon damage enchantments. So let's take a look at Snipe again. It's now about 12,500 and fully buffed. It's about 600 more poison damage. So, my character sheet fully buffed. I have over 3,000 weapon damage, over 60% crit, 2,000 stam recovery, over 27,000 max stamina, and over 26,000 max health. The food I'm running is max health stam recovery food. You can get this from the Rothgar quest. And since this is a PvP build, I'm in Cyrodiil, so I have Battle Spirit passive on for the extra 5%, 5,000 extra health. I also have a little bit more weapon critical right now because of the enemy keep bonus, so my weapon critical usually isn't at 60%. Going back to take a look at some of these abilities again, Relentless Focus grants 8% extra damage done, which does not show up on the character sheet. It is not weapon damage, it is not magic power or spell damage, it is just damage done. So, if you wanted to play this build in 1v1s, just switching a few of the abilities can make this work. So I would get rid of Snipe and put Relentless Focus here. I would move Camouflage over to here, and I would slot Vigor for the extra heal. And my 2-hand bar stays the same. I might switch in Flawless Dawnbreaker if I need it. So now that I've gone over my skills and my gear, let's take a look at the champion points. Starting off on the red, I have 121 points into the Lady, 60 into Hardy, and 60 into Elemental Fender, and 1 into Thick Skins just for the 1%. And I'm throwing the rest into Quick Recovery now for extra healing received. For my green tree, I like to get about 21 to 22% extra stam recovery. This is important because my race is an Imperial, and I have the rest into Warlord, trying to get about 11% reduced cost. And 1 into Tublink for that 1%. I might start pump more into here. For the blue, I have 1 into Elemental Expert. The reason I did this is because I have a lot of abilities that are magic damage. Relentless Focus, Flawless Dawnbreaker, Camouflage Hunter, and Soul Harvest are all magic damage. So I try to pump that up, including Falcon Scoria, flame damage. So 1%, why not? I'm also putting a little bit more into Bow Expert to increase my light and heavy attacks from my bow. And I also have 90 into Mighty to get 23%. This helps with my burst damage. 14 into Precise Strikes to increase my weapon crit damage. Gonna start pumping more into there. And 28 into Thaumaturge. The reason for that is because I have a lot of dots. This champion point setup I have right now is the same exact setup I use for PvE, which I will be releasing a new build video for PvE soon. Alright, so I forgot to go over my weapons I'm using. So for my bow, it's just any gold bow you can pick up. Precise is very important. Right now, it's a marksman bow, and I have the Crusher enchantment on, which reduces their target's armor by about 1,000 for 5 seconds. If I could, I would switch this out for either a fire or prismatic enchantment. For my two-hander, it's also just a random gold sword with the sharpened trait to increase my armor and spell penetration. And I'm also running a weapon damage enchantment on that. So for the passives, I like to take all of them. Most of them aren't important, but it still helps to take all of them. Master Assassin increases your damage done while in stealth and increases the duration of stuns while crouched by 100%. Executioner would just increase my magicka back but I'm not really using assassin abilities to execute. Pressure points increases my critical strike rating for each assassination ability slotted. It's just a little bit extra weapon crit. And then hemorrhage increases my critical strike damage, and it also increases my critical strike whenever I crit. For the shadow, refreshing shadows is a must. It increases your stam, health, and magicka recovery. So I always take that. Shadow barrier helps you get a little bit tankier when you're spamming surprise attack. You can usually keep this up at all times when you're up close. Dark vigor increases my max health, and dark file increases the duration of shadow abilities. This helps with cloak and the fear from mass hysteria. For siphoning, I take all of those abilities too, even though you really don't have to if you're just going to be using this build for PvP, but Catalyst is a good one to help increase your ultimate. It got a huge buff for 2.3, but like I said, since we don't have any siphoning abilities slotted for this builds, we don't really need any of these passives, but I have them because I do use this character for PvE also. So going down to the two-handed passives, I do take all these too, even though they're not really necessary either. I only use Rally and Executioner. I like the reduced cost, so Rally is cheaper and Executioner is cheaper, and then if I get a kill with Executioner, I get a boost to my stam recovery. This helps with my resource management. Forceful is kind of just makes your light and heavy attacks a little mini AoE. For my bow, all these passes are very important. Long shots increases damage done by up to 12% the further away you stand. This increases your burst damage and your DPS output. For accuracy, this is going to increase your weapon critical rating. Ranger reduces cost of bow abilities by 20%. Hawkeye is the new big one for 2.3 patch. Light and heavy attacks increase your damage of bow abilities by 5% for 4 seconds, and this can stack up to 3 times. So you can get up to 15% extra damage just by weaving in light and heavy attacks in between your abilities. And then Hasty Retreat, which gives you major expedition after doing a dodge roll, which is very important when I cloak. I like to dodge roll and then cloak so I can cloak a little bit faster. So my medium armor passives, they're all important. Just take all of them. If you have any extra points, you can start to put these into light armor passives if you have them to increase your magicka resource management too. Since we are wearing 5 medium, 1 heavy, 1 light. And then I also put 2 into heavy armor juggernaut to increase my max health by 1%. Anything to help with max health is good. For Ledgerman, improved hiding helps with your stealth. Fighter's Guild, I'd like to take Slayer to increase my weapon and spell damage against undead and Daedra. This includes vampires and werewolves, and then also killing them grants me 9 additional ultimate. Mage's Guild passives are important, and then the Undaunted passives, I don't currently have them unlocked, but both of these are very important. Once I get these, I will definitely put skill points into there. That increases my max health, magicka, and stamina by a lot since I am wearing 511. I am an Imperial for this race, for my race. I get 12% extra health, 10% extra stamina, and red diamonds, which isn't too big, but other races that would be really good would be Khajiit for the extra crit and stam recovery, as well as Wood Elf for the extra stam recovery, and they both get the stealth bonus. And Redguard would also be a very good race. And you also want to take the Assault passives. They can be really strong in PvP also. Thank you for watching my build video on Nocturnal. Please don't forget to hit that like button if you liked the video and subscribe for more content. And leave comments if you have questions about the build or ways to help me improve my future videos. Thank you.